Beijing is looking to develop a competent semiconductor industry without lavish spending, after realizing that big money doesn't mean fruitful results. Sources told Bloomberg News that senior Chinese officials were aware that major investments have brought little result and only triggered bribery and US sanctions. The People said officials thought proposals worth up to 1 trillion yuan or $145 billion were lackluster and were thinking of less costly ways. They added that officials are now requesting local suppliers to reduce component costs to support domestic clients. China hasn't lost its ambition to strive for self-sufficiency in the sector, with President Xi Jinping in October still pronouncing that efforts will be made to improve the new system for mobilizing resources nationwide to make key technological breakthroughs and boost China's strength in strategic science and technology. But mega spending is no longer a desirable strategy at this point. Sources told Bloomberg that Chinese officials said Beijing has poured out too many resources on implementing a zero-COVID policy over the past years. Local governments' finances were strained to a record deficit last year, hampered by low tax collection, decreased land sales, and the expense of containing COVID transmission. From official data, Bloomberg estimated that its augmented fiscal deficit was 7.75 trillion yuan, or $1.1 trillion, between January and November 2022. This was more than doubled during the same period in 2021. China has pumped over $100 billion into the semiconductor sector over the past decade, especially the National Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund. While few breakthroughs have been achieved, Beijing had to launch graft probes into executives managing the so-called Big Fund in August last year. The US further struck its ambition with a set of semiconductor curbs last year, while appealing to allies to pick up similar measures. It has successfully engaged the Netherlands and Japan to strengthen export controls of sophisticated chip-making equipment to China. The country's two most advanced Chinese semiconductor manufacturers, SMIC and Yangtze, are also under US sanctions. The media agency said there is no certainty if China will eventually forego the aggressive capital spending approach, noting that it still has the option to use funds from other areas to support domestic chip producers.